Once upon a time in the ancient kingdom of Persia, which is now modern-day Iran, there lived a young Jewish woman named Esther. Esther was beautiful inside and out. She had a kind heart and a sweet spirit. She was also very intelligent and quick-witted. Her people called her Hadassah, which means myrtle tree, because she was as lovely and fragrant as the flowers that grew around the myrtle tree. Esther's parents were very strict with her. They taught her to always be truthful and to never forget her heritage. But they had one big secret from Esther. They didn't tell her that she was Jewish. They wanted to protect her from any anti-Jewish feelings King Artaxerxes might have. You see, King Artaxerxes wasn't too fond of Jews. He had recently banned them from worshiping God or celebrating their holy days. One day, King Artaxerxes threw a huge party in the capital city of Shushan. He invited all the important people in the kingdom, but he told his servants not to invite his wife, Queen Vashti. The king got drunk at the party and thought it would be hilarious to tell Queen Vashti to bring him a big goblet of wine. But when she refused, he got really mad. So he unleashed the wrath of his royal power and dethroned Queen Vashti. The king's advisors told him that he should find a new queen, so he started looking for a replacement. Soon, word got out all over the kingdom that the king was looking for a new wife. All the beautiful women in the kingdom got very excited, especially Esther's uncle Mordecai. He begged Esther to enter the contest, but she refused. She didn't want to be just another trophy wife for the king. But then Mordecai reminded her that she was a Jew and that if she became queen, she could use her influence to help her people. Esther listened to her uncle and decided to enter the contest. When Esther arrived at the palace, she was given the best makeover ever. She bathed in fragrant oils, wore fancy dresses and makeup, and even got a wig made out of real gold. After 6 months of beauty treatments, it was finally time for the contest. All the women stood in line in front of the king, and each woman was more beautiful than the last. But when Esther walked into the room, everyone gasped. She was indeed the most beautiful woman in the kingdom. King Artaxerxes was totally smitten with her, and when she smiled, his heart melted. He immediately chose her to be his wife and gave her the crown jewels and made her live in the best palace. Soon, everyone in the kingdom knew that Esther was the new queen, but she still kept her Jewish identity a secret. One day, while walking in the palace gardens, Esther saw her cousin, Mordecai, who was an official in the king's army, sitting alone under a tree. He looked very sad. When Esther asked him why, he told her that 2 of the king's advisors, Bigthana and Teresh, were plotting to assassinate King Artaxerxes. Mordecai was worried about the king's safety, but he didn't know what to do. Esther told her cousin not to worry, that she would take care of it. Now, you might be wondering how a young Jewish queen could stop a deadly plot against the king of Persia. Well, it required a lot of courage, quick thinking, and a little bit of deception. First, Esther had to get close to the king. She couldn't just barge into his throne room and accuse those advisors of treason. She had to be clever and find a way to get the king's trust. This was not easy because King Artaxerxes had built a huge wall around the palace so no one could sneak in or out. It was so tall that even the queen had to use a special golden chariot to enter the grounds. Also, whenever someone wanted to see the king, they had to make an appointment, and only one person was allowed to see the king each day through a small opening in the palace wall. But Esther was not afraid. She had a plan. She invited the king and all the important officials to a banquet. She prepared delicious food and lots of wine. Then she waited for the perfect moment and asked the king for a favor. She told him that there was a group of people who wanted to destroy the kingdom and that she believed the king's advisors were involved. The king was shocked and immediately took action. He ordered his guards to bring the advisors to his throne room. Esther then showed the king the secret passageway leading out of the palace that the traitors had used to spy on him. The king was furious and had the advisors put to death. Everyone in the kingdom was grateful to Esther for saving the king's life, but she didn't stop there. She used her influence to help the Jews in the kingdom. You see, there was a man named Haman, and he was the king's favorite. In fact, whenever anyone entered the king's throne room, they had to bow down to Haman first. But he hated the Jews and wanted to destroy them. He tried to convince King Artaxerxes to kill all the Jews in the kingdom, but the king refused. So Haman did something even more evil. He built a gallows as high as the palace walls to hang Mordecai, the Jew who had saved the king's life. When Esther heard about this, she knew she had to act fast. She went to see the king again, but this time she didn't have an elaborate plan. She simply told the king what Haman had done and begged him to spare her people. The king was ashamed of how he had treated the Jews and immediately ordered Haman to be hanged on the gallows. That same day, the king gave Mordecai the order to destroy Haman's wicked plot and to do whatever he wanted to the man. Mordecai gathered all the Jews in the kingdom and they celebrated their deliverance. And from that day on, Jews all over the world celebrated the holiday of Purim to remember how God had saved them from their enemies. And that is the story of Esther, the brave Jewish queen who saved her people from certain death. Now, if you were wondering why a God who is all-knowing didn't stop the bad things from happening in the first place, well, that's a great question. And it's all about free will. You see, God gave humans free will, which means we can choose to do good or bad. And sometimes, like in the story of Esther, God allows bad things to happen because He wants us to learn valuable lessons. For example, we learn that even when things seem really bad, we should never lose hope. God is in control, and He will help us if we trust in Him. We also learn that we should be kind to everyone, no matter what they look like or what they believe in, because we don't know what struggles they might be facing. And lastly, we learn that we should stand up for what is right, even when it's hard, because one day our reward will be great. Now, if you've watched all the way to the end of the video, I bet you love watching Bible stories, right? Well, I have great news for you. That's because I've been creating videos to help you learn about the Bible in a fun and engaging way. If you'd like to continue learning about the Bible with us, please hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any of our new videos. And if you feel inspired, you can support us by becoming a member. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.